afternoon and welcome to IBA News this Wednesday, the 7th of September. I'm Elon Aslan-Levy, joining you live from Jerusalem. In Ramat HaChayal, hopes are fading on the third day of rescue efforts for workers trapped under the rubble in the underground car park that collapsed Monday morning. According to police, 3 people are known to have been killed and 4 believed to be trapped, although the Home Front, which is leading the rescue efforts, is saying 3. According to an initial report by the Economy Ministry Safety Administration, the construction company responsible for the lot, Danya Sibus, had a history of safety violations, although no defects were found on the site itself during an inspection in June. But police are increasingly convinced that the car park collapsed because of an engineering and planning fault by the company. Yesterday, police arrested 1 suspect and more arrests are expected. Police are seeking to extend the remand of Netanyahu Mayor Miriam Fierberg-Ikar, who was today questioned under caution at the National Anti-Fraud headquarters. The mayor is suspected of receiving bribes in exchange for advancing several real estate projects in the city. She was later taken to the Rishon LeZion Magistrates Court, along with 4 other suspects detained in the high-level corruption affair. The group includes a senior Netanyahu municipal office official and 2 contractors who worked with her. In addition, the court yesterday extended by 3 days the remand of the mayor's son, Tzafrir Fierberg, along with 3 other suspects, including developer Avraham Tshuva, brother of real estate mogul Yitzhak Tshuva, attorney Avraham Gogig, and architect Gabi Tetro. Allegations against the group concern possible real estate transactions worth millions of shekels, bribery, fraud, money laundering, and tax offences. Earlier this week, police raided offices at the Netanya municipality and confiscated documents. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is on a 2-day visit to the Netherlands, met today with leaders of the Dutch Parliament as well as members of the House of Representatives Foreign Affairs Committee. Among the issues discussed was Israel's policy towards Europe. Netanyahu told the dignitaries that in many means Israel is not only protecting itself but Europe as well from terrorism emanating from the Middle East. He stressed the Jewish state is the most stable and stabilizing country in the region. Well, during the Prime Minister's visit to The Hague, several hundred pro-Palestinian demonstrators gathered outside the city's central train station to protest his visit and meeting with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte. Black boxes bearing the names of Palestinian children allegedly killed by Israel during the 2014 Operation Protective Edge were on display at yesterday's protest, with signs in English saying, "Netanyahu not welcome." Some of the demonstrators called on the International Criminal Court, which sits in The Hague, to put the Israeli Prime Minister on trial. Later in the day at a joint press conference, Netanyahu announced that the Netherlands would assist Israel in improving water and gas supplies to the Gaza Strip.
If our own government is not going to do something about it, then we as a people, we as the citizens of the Netherlands and elsewhere around the world should have a say and should make a stand. And that is why I'm here today.
If elections were held today, Yair Lapid's Yesh Atid party would emerge as the largest party in the Knesset with 24 seats, compared to the Likud's 22. That's the result of a new poll by Machon Midgam published last night on Channel 2, which suggested for the first time that Lapid's party would overtake the Likud. The poll also showed that Naftali Bennett's Jewish Home Party would receive 14 seats, a rise from its current 8, and the Zionist Union, currently the second largest party, would collapse to 13, tying with the joint list. Defense Minister Lieberman's Yisrael Beitenu party would win 10 seats, that's up from 6, and Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon's party Kulanu would dip to 6 mandates. The United Torah Judaism party would gain a seat, rising to 7 seats, and Shas would drop 1 to 6. The report failed to publish the poll's margin of error. Construction has begun of a concrete security barrier that will rise above and below ground, aimed at boosting the security of Israeli border communities near the Gaza Strip. The project has been described by IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Gadi Eisenkot as the largest ever to be carried out by the army. The barrier, which will reach several stories underground and above ground level, is designed to hamper terrorist efforts to dig cross-border tunnels and will eventually surround the Gaza Strip on the Israeli side. The estimated cost of the entire project is budgeted at 2 billion shekels, and while funds for the barrier for the 2017-18 fiscal year have yet to be allocated, Finance Minister Moshe Kahlon said during a recent visit to the Gaza border area that money will not be a barrier to erecting a barrier. Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman says he will not oppose issuing permits to Palestinians from Gaza seeking to work in Israel if quiet is maintained along the Gaza border. The Defense Minister made the comments yesterday during a meeting with local council heads from communities close to the Strip. Lieberman's statements are part of his recently unveiled carrot and stick policy, which focuses on boosting the economy in Palestinian areas not involved in activities against Israel, while punishing those involved in terror. The meeting with local council heads also dealt with advancing a project to detect cross-border tunnels and other salient security issues. 2 people who live in the same apartment building in Rishon LeZion have reportedly died in recent weeks from complications related to salmonella poisoning. The 2 neighbors, both in their 60s, were hospitalized at the Asaf HaRofeh hospital. Neither had a history of poor health, and both died prior to the outbreak of the recent salmonella scandal in Israel, in which dozens of products were recalled amid concerns that they had been contaminated somewhere along the production line. According to a Channel 1 report, the 2 victims had apparently shared a meal or purchased the same product at a nearby supermarket. Prime Minister Netanyahu superseded his authority in ordering the cessation of works by Israel Railways on Shabbat, according to the High Court. Yesterday, Justice Anat Baron issued interim order permitting the work to continue in response to a petition by Meretz chairwoman Zahava Gal'on, who declared the ruling a victory. Speaking at a press conference with Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte at The Hague, Netanyahu said he respected the High Court's decision and said it put an end to this affair, adding that it is up to the Social Affairs Minister to decide which works are fundamental and so will be performed on Shabbat. The State Prosecutor's Office had argued that the question was theoretical because work had only been halted for the one weekend, with Israel Railways still holding a permit to perform works if necessary on the other Shabbatot in September, which could only be amended by the Welfare and Social Affairs Minister Chaim Katz. Galon described the cancellation of rail works as nothing but the elimination of the rule of law and the principles of democracy in the State of Israel. Not to be outdone by the United Torah Judaism Party's suspension of those rail works on Shabbat, Shas leader and Interior Minister Aryeh Deri is pushing to shut down some 160 stores on Shabbat in Tel Aviv. After a committee of 5 directors general from various ministries failed to reach a solution on the issue, Eli Grona, the Director General of the Prime Minister's office, is set to offer suggestions, including granting permits to some stores, allowing them to remain open on Shabbat. Deri is demanding a blanket closure for all grocery stores, including convenience stores over Shabbat, but may reportedly agree to a compromise that will allow a small number of entertainment and shopping areas at the Jaffa port, the Tel Aviv port, and the old station complex to remain open, along with convenience stores in gas stations. Back in March 2014, the Tel Aviv municipality drafted a new bylaw after the Supreme Court ordered it to replace or enforce existing regulations against Shabbat commerce. At the time, the Tel Aviv municipality suggested permitting 164 stores and kiosks to remain open on Shabbat, but the Interior Ministry failed to respond within the 60-day window granted by the court at the time, such that the municipality went ahead and gave the green light to the 164 stores. 600 fragments of marble sifted from debris tossed out of the Temple Mount by the Muslim Waqf have now given archaeologists the first glimpse of what the floor of the Second Temple actually looked like. With more on this sublime discovery is IBA's Aria O'Sullivan.
It was a dramatic presentation. Pulling the curtain aside reveals restored marble floor tiles, which these archaeologists say were part of the Second Temple complex destroyed by the Romans 1,946 years ago. For the past 12 years, volunteers have been sifting through the tons of rubble that the Waqf, the Supreme Muslim Council, has been removing from the Temple Mount. Located in Emek Tzurim National Park in Jerusalem, they found some 600 pieces of colored, cut, and polished stone dated from the time of King Herod. Experts pieced them together and incorporated them as a basis to restore what an original floor tile probably looked like. Archaeologists said the stone had been imported from Italy, Asia Minor, and North Africa, and was part of a floor style King Herod imported from Rome called opus sectile. Archaeologist Gabi Barkay was more dramatic. He says, "These represent the first time we can see with our own eyes the splendor of the flooring that decorated the Second Temple. These were the floor tiles walked upon by Jews, and could even be ones that Jesus stepped on. The opus sectile floors were all the rage back in Herod's time, and he had them installed in his palaces like Masada, Herodian, and Jericho. If it was good enough for Herod, it was also good enough for the wealthy elite, and they're not uncommon in digs. However, these tiles are from the temple and are given further credibility from the writings of ancient historian Josephus Flavius, who described the temple floors as various types and colors. Perhaps one day more pieces of the Second Temple may come to light if they keep digging. Ari O'Sullivan for IBA News.
The 2016 Summer Paralympic Games are set to kick off tonight in Rio de Janeiro. Last night, the proud sportsmen and women raised the Israeli flag at the Olympic Village. The Israeli delegation comprises 33 athletes who will participate in 12 different sports and 39 events. Before their departure, I met two of Israel's Paralympic rowers, double act Yulia Chernoy and Reuven Magnaji, as they trained at Tel Aviv's Daniel Rowing Center on the Yarkon River. Meet Yulia and Reuven. At last year's World Rowing Championship, they ranked 8th in the TA mixed double sculls. And now they're hoping to make Israel proud at the Rio de Janeiro Paralympic Games.
You saw human Olympic, now you will see superhuman Olympic.
It's the culmination of an intensive training schedule with 13 sessions a week and only half a day's rest. They train 3 weeks a month in Italy and here at Tel Aviv's Daniel Rowing Center on the Yarkon River. Yulia Chernoy was born in Kazakhstan with cerebral palsy, a condition that affects her right leg and arm.
When I born, my parents was very ashamed that they have disabled child. All my life I was heard like that I'm not worth, I'm not deserve, I'm not equal.
And Reuven Magnaji was injured in the Battle of Jenin in 2002, when 13 men in his platoon were killed, leaving him the sole survivor with a bullet in his ankle.
Not so bad injuries, you know. There is worse, but losing of your friend, it's also a part of your mental injury.
Yulia started triathlon at the age of 31, having never swum, run or ridden a bike before. She was on the bus back from student games in Eilat, where she was cheering on friends when she first thought of taking the plunge.
In this point, I remember that I turned in front of the bus and I told to everybody, I'm going to do triathlon. And people was laughing at me and like, okay, she's tired, sit. And months after, I was staying on a start line in women triathlon in Herzliya.
After a chance encounter with the coach of the national rowing team in a hotel, Yulia found she met the Paralympic criteria for rowing and paired up with Reuven to conquer the world.
First time in my life, I felt that I can trust on my body, that like my body worth something.
For Reuven too, sport gave him his self-confidence back.
I understand that I need to do something that I control in my life, and this was the something. And when you go to the boat and you put a door in the water, and you can decide how and where it will go, it's making a difference in your life.
But professional sport claims a cost, forcing athletes to focus on attaining excellence, sometimes at the expense of friends and family.
It's the first thing that you think in the morning and the last in the night. It's your life. And
still, every year, the Olympics open to much fanfare, while the Paralympic Games are treated as a sideshow.
We always prefer the muscles man and the blonde woman, not the one without arm and leg. It's difficult to show the ones that really battles and the way to get there. The way it's also more important than the goal, the medal in the end, because they decided they are not a man in a wheelchair, or they are athletes. They have goals, and they decided to get them.
We was two different people, two different persons with very big cross-culture differences. And also it's women and men in a boat. It's two different psychological systems. and become a team and be like one body in a boat.
Reuven and Yulia never imagined they would be competing in international championships, but that hard work has paid off.
Don't doubt, just come here to Daniel Rowing Center. Here, 95% of your muscles will be working. You will be stronger, you will be able to do whatever you want to do. Just believe in yourself.
Wishing the entire Israeli Paralympics team success in Rio. This is Elon Aslan-Levy for IBA News. The opening ceremony of the Paralympic Games will be broadcast live on Channel 1 at midnight tonight. The channel will also present a daily wrap-up of events every evening, and finals reached by Israeli athletes will be broadcast live. The Games will run till the 18th of September, and we wish our athletes, including Reuven and Yulia, the very best of luck. An island has emerged in the Sea of Galilee as the summer is set to wind up, with water levels falling 37.5 centimetres under the lower red line. Aerial footage shows the dry land poking above the water at 213.375 metres below sea level, thanks to the third consecutive winter of below average rainfall. Receding waters in the Kinneret also uncovered 5 World War I era artillery shells, believed to have been dumped by retreating Turkish forces and now discovered by a swimmer a century later. Meanwhile, the level of the Dead Sea dropped 13 centimetres in August and 103 centimetres since last October, meaning the Dead Sea has declined 25 metres in as many years, owing to a lack of water flowing into the hypersaline lake from the Jordan River. In finance, the stock exchange is up and the shekel is down today. And in weather, tomorrow should be partly cloudy with a slight rise in temperatures, expected to rise again on Friday to unseasonable heights. And that's all for today. Laura Cornfield will be back again tomorrow. So for me and the entire IBA team, it's a good evening, live from Jerusalem.